Happy New Year's Eve, Happy New Year's, or whatever you want to call it. Now that we got that massive history lesson out of the way, let's jump right into the NASCAR news. Unfortunately, lost a president, Jimmy Carter, who many might not know this, but he actually used to be a ticket salesperson at Atlanta Motor Speedway. That was one of his first jobs, so he was always a big NASCAR fan. And to my knowledge, now don't get me wrong, presidents have invited Cup Series champions and stuff like that to the White House, but to my knowledge, Jimmy Carter is the only one that invited a bunch of NASCAR drivers to the White House. And this article here, and I was actually unaware of this. I wasn't alive for Jimmy Carter's presidency and all that. And obviously, you can call any president good or bad. You can literally call every president bad if you really wanted to take that angle. Have we ever had a good president? But I can't speak for after he got out of the White House. I know he worked with Habitat for Humanity a lot and stuff like that. So I think he did try to be a good dude, at least after he was president or whatever. No matter how you feel about him as a president or whatever. But this article here in Auto Week from Mike Hembry was pretty illuminating because he talked about that moment where he invited people to the White House. And he said on the driveway near the White House, 4 NASCAR show cars dressed in sponsor colors were parked in a row. Several drivers suggested racing the cars while everyone was in town. Unfortunately, though, Jimmy Carter, who also hosted the NASCAR members while he lived in Georgia at the governor's mansion, missed the big event at the White House because he was at nearby Camp David working on a Mideast peace agreement between Israeli Prime Minister, not even going to attempt to pronounce that, and Egyptian President Anwar Sadat. So there you go. Good dude. And it was pretty cool that he did that. Auto Week is the article there. And also just sort of cyclical that's still going on. That conflict essentially still going on to this day. Even was going on back then in '78, and even before that. But not talking about politics. Just an interesting side note that it's been going on pretty much for a very long time over there. NASCAR plans massive ramp up of live streaming content. NASCAR President Steve Phelps, we need to do a better job of keeping our fans engaged in the offseason. This is from Deb Williams, also an Auto Week article. So two Auto Week articles here. But basically, Steve Phelps said only 14% of the content seen in 2024 originated in the facility. However, in 2025, in addition to the networks covering the NASCAR races, there would be a robust content throughout NASCAR.com, NASCAR social media channels, YouTube, Netflix. He described it as a massive ramp up with a facility devoted to live event productions on the weekends and feature content during the week and in the off season. And it's going to be a 50% increase in content seen from that new building, the new media center that they built over there. So good article there, and I think overall that's a good thing. I think NASCAR needs to make that push to get on social media to push things out there, because the old model was on TV. And you actually had a lot of help from sponsors back in the day with the old model as well, putting faces with sponsors, with cars and stuff like that, with commercials. Ward Burton Caterpillar, that was a classic one. You remember the Michael Waltrip at the wrong racetrack, all the Michael Waltrip Napa commercials, things like that. Dale Jr. Budweiser commercials. I remember the one with him and Ti where they swapped rides. They were both driving Impalas. Ti was driving the race car really slow, and Jr. was driving Ti's Impala really fast. Just all kinds of commercials like that. The Gillette Young Guns. That content is no longer there, and the TV model to support it, even if it was there, is no longer there. Not saying that some sponsors don't still do a good job. Brad Keselowski, RFK, his cellular sponsor, the orange car there, they do a great job. The convertible Mustang, that was a great commercial. But now it's more on social media and streaming, so they need to address that market. And they said they're going to go with a driver first approach in a different article, if you remember me talking about that not too long ago. So I think it's good that NASCAR is meeting the fans where the fans are at now, and I'm glad that they're going to be producing that content, which essentially is going to be let's just be honest, it's going to be fluff pieces and stuff like that, but you're at least going to see the drivers, you're going to be able to see the drivers' personalities, and you're going to associate them because they'll be wearing their sponsor gear and a lot of this stuff. You'll associate them with the sponsors, so it's going to be an overall win-win for the sport. So I do like the fact that they're going to ramp up, because in my opinion, this is a big thing that they've been missing for a long time, ramping up their presence on social media by letting their drivers be in front of fans on social media. They do a great job at the racetrack with drivers being in front of fans, but they've done a poor job with drivers being in front of fans on social media. So it looks like they are addressing that this year. So that is definitely a good thing. Also saw in the Sports Business Journal that NASCAR is unsure about returning to Chicago for the street race past 2025. NASCAR COO Steve O'Donnell is not commenting on whether 2025 will be the last year of the Chicago Street Race or whether the series will eventually compete in Saudi Arabia, but he does maintain that domestic and foreign interest in the sport is significant. So yeah, I mean, I think after the 3-year contract, I think with the headache and all the stuff they had to go through politically to get that race in Chicago, and the fact that every time that they've held the race, even though the race has been very successful TV ratings wise and stuff like that, and it's had some great storylines from it, it has lost money every single time they did it. And they said they're okay with losing money because they're just trying to grow that market and things like that. So they're happy with it. They look at it as sort of like an advertising type deal, but I do think after this, they will probably try to move that somewhere else. And I do think, in the overall scheme of things, moving one race around to somewhere that doesn't have a race from time to time, just every 3 years you rotate to a different track. That's not necessarily the worst idea. Now I don't know about racing in Saudi Arabia. I don't know how close they are to that, but Mexico City, something like that, for sure. You could see something like that just moving around every so often. They're in a different place. So that's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out and who will get that race if they do leave Chicago. Like I said, a lot of things up in the air, but I did want to mention that because I did see that on here today as well. And then the whole AI thing. So I guess people got fired up on Twitter. I didn't even really pay attention to it because in the off season, I really don't go on Twitter unless I have to. I don't think anybody's day has ever been improved going on Twitter. Just to be totally honest with you, I go on there, I look at I look for NASCAR news real quick, and then I jump right off of it. Answer some DMs with some friends and stuff like that. But other than that, don't really mess with Twitter too much because I haven't seen where it's ever improved anybody's day. But that being said, the AI thing, I guess, like broke out as a debate over there on Twitter, and I think the only thing that was actually said was that they were going to use AI to they were going to run some changes to the championship system through AI, which not a big deal because to be totally honest with you, AI has just become this trendy thing. It's sort of just become this hot button tech thing. Like every few years or so, you'll see something become just a big hot trendy thing in tech. Like for a long time, it was cell phones. You had to upgrade a new cell phone every single year because you just felt like you were being left behind. Cell phones have sort of evened out. So whether you got a Samsung, whether you got an iPhone or whatever, they've sort of evened out. Some have, Samsung has some better features over here. iPhone does some better things over here, depending on what you're looking for. But for the most part, you've evened out. There's not really one's not really greater than the other. It's just up to personal preference. If you go 3 or 4 years without getting a new phone, you're not really missing out on a ton of stuff. Is what I'm sort of getting at. So the phones were the big thing for a while. Then there was like a tablets phase. Then drones. Like there was a couple years where everybody just had to have a drone. Like there's just these phases of big tech things. They tried to make electric cars like a big tech thing for a while. Like for 1 or 2 years, electric cars with the younger demographic was the main thing that they were focusing on. That was the new tech that everybody wanted to have, had to have, and things like that. And so now it's AI. AI is the new tech trend. Uh, I've seen it in I think Insta 360 or somebody put it in one of their action cameras like a GoPro. They put some AI in a GoPro, and it's pretty much a useless feature. But because they had AI in it, I'm sure they sold more than others. So AI has just become this sort of trendy term, and like everything in society right now, it's become politicized. You have one group that takes the Ted Kaczynski, Jacques Ellul look at things where oh, we just need to get rid of the system. AI is the devil. It's going to ruin all of us. And then you've got the people like Elon Musk and people that side with him that are like AI is like the greatest thing ever. We need Neuralink. We need to tap AI into our brains. So, well, like there, you all you hear is these two polar opposite sides of it, and the rest of us in the middle are just like, I don't care at all. I just want to live my daily life and go on about my business. But at the end of the day, AI has been around for a long time. It's been, I guess it was probably science fiction first, but as far as functional, working, real AI, we've had that since 2010 when IBM had Watson. That's the earliest I remember anybody talking about like functional AI that actually did something. You remember the commercials in as far back as 2010. They still have Watson IBM commercials now, and Watson is used in several applications. I think I saw on Wikipedia the most prominent application it's used in. Sloan Kettering in New York City uses it to treat, I think, lung cancer or something like that. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. So don't quote me on it, but I think they do use it for some type of treatment. So there are applications, and like I said, it's been being used for a long time. So for NASCAR to take it all the way back to NASCAR, now that we've gone down this rabbit hole of AI, uh, NASCAR running it through sort of a just checking, seeing if they can come up with some stuff. But at the end of the day, Jim France is going to make the final call for anything NASCAR related. So I wouldn't worry too much about NASCAR being taken over by AI or whatever the debate was about. I think it was really, honestly, just kind of much ado about nothing if we have to really boil it down to what was going on. So, yeah, that was that. And I think that is all. I think we've caught up on everything I've seen. Oh, one more thing. Front Row Motorsports. It wouldn't be an episode without some legal drama. Front Row Motorsports has finalized the purchase of our third charter from Stewart Haas Racing. Announcements on driver and car number and additional partners will be coming soon. Jerry Freeze, general manager of Front Row Motorsports. NASCAR, of course, is appealing this, but for right now, as long as the appeal doesn't go through, for right now, they are going to announce most likely that Zane Smith is going to be driving that car. They'll announce his car number and they will announce his sponsor. But I mean, pretty much everybody knows it's going to be Zane Smith. But they will announce the car numbers and who the sponsor will be and all that good stuff. So yeah, that is that. And now let's jump into the comments and see what you guys want to talk about. I do have a poll question up. Looking forward to most for 2025 Daytona, the lawsuit being done. That's me personally. That's what I'm looking forward to. Bowman Gray Clash. I'm also kind of looking forward to that one as well. And the Rockingham being back or attending a race in your local area. They only give me 4 options, so I had to combine that one. Right now, 59% are looking forward to Daytona, 17% for Rockingham, 17% for the lawsuit being done, and 7%, a strong 7% for the Bowman Gray Clash.